Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe, and I wanted to do a quick impressions video on Samurai Cop 2 Deadly Vengeance, which was released fairly recently. I believe it was around the end of 2015 on Blu-ray. It was kickstarted, and it is a sequel to the famous or infamous cheesy B-movie Samurai Cop, which was out in 1991. If you didn't see my other video, you might want to check that out. Samurai Cop was really goofy. Had like a Lethal Weapon vibe, and this carries through in this film. Maybe not as much, maybe not as much of Lethal Weapon type of vibe or buddy cop movie type of vibe, but it's still there, definitely. In the first film, there's just crazy antics. There's a wig at one point in the movie that the main guy is wearing that falls off. There's tons of funny, interesting behind-the-scenes stuff from the first film that I'm not going to get too much into in this video because I'm speaking about number two. So, they kickstarted this movie, and a lot of the obvious fans from Samurai Cop came in and donated money, and the film got made. And the film was made by Cinema Epic. I almost said Epoch. Cinema Epic, which is headed by Greg Hatanaka, whose last name probably means Japanese sword. And it's really a lot. It has a lot of fan service, this movie. It's here's the Blu-ray, by the way. It has a lot of fan service. They really tried to fit in a lot, I think, from the first film and also add new stuff without making it seem like, oh, it's the first film, just rehash. It's definitely not. The feelings in the first film compared to this one are very drastically different, in my opinion. But you can tell it's a labor of love. You can tell that he really tried to, Greg Hatanaka, thank you, had tried to really, please the fans, put in things that they would back reference or callbacks. Things of that nature. One of the things that I really liked was I'll name a few of them. There's two cops in the movie that are arguing briefly, and they're supposed to be, or were supposed to be, I think, Robert Z'Dar's sons. Robert Z'Dar, you might know from the Maniac Cop films. He's the dude from Tango and Cash with the huge jaw. He passed away before the movie was created, so he actually wasn't able to be in it, but initially he was supposed to be. The movie is good. I like it. It's definitely a cheesy movie. It's more self-aware than the first film, where the first film was like more of a buddy cop movie, but like off kilter, and you could see like there was cheesiness to it. This one is more like, okay, we know this is cheesy and we're going with it. I'm trying to think what else to say. There's so much to say about this film, to be completely honest. The movie has, I would say, like three minor things I didn't like, and I'll name them quickly. I thought the movie had a lot of characters, and it's a little overwhelming sometimes to try and remember the names and who's with what group and stuff like that. Also, there are a few porn star actresses in the movie, and I felt like Kayden Cross, who's one of the main characters, she's a porn star. She was actually really good. I liked her acting. I didn't like Lexi Bell's acting. I thought she was very kind of straight and robotic. I didn't feel enough inflection in her tone. But overall, I thought they were pretty good. I liked Kayden Cross a lot, actually. But the porn star actresses are hit and miss, I think, in terms of acting chops. But no offense to them, of course. Just my 2 cents. The only other thing I would say, which kind of let me down a little bit between this Blu-ray and the first movie as well, is there's no subtitles, and I love watching movies with subtitles. That's the only thing. Everything else, though, I really liked. So I saw this movie first, and then I went back and watched the first film. Like I said, this one's way more self-aware, way cheesier, way goofier. They were originally doing the sequel anyway, and Mark Frazier, who is the like buddy sidekick, almost like Danny Glover-esque to Matt Hannon's Mel Gibson, so to speak. This dude here, the black dude. He was originally going to be the star, and I think they were going to have like Samurai Cop's daughter be his like teammate, and it was supposed to be about like who killed the Samurai Cop. The funny part was everyone thought Matt Hannon, aka Matt Caritas or Caradas, they thought he was dead in real life, and he came on IMDb and started saying, like in the forum of Samurai Cop, like, no, I'm not dead. And then he did a video on YouTube, and his daughter put it out there, and then they were like, holy shit, the star isn't dead. They, either someone else with the same name died, or somehow wires got crossed, whatever the case may be. They thought he was dead, and he wasn't. So they were able to get him back for the film, and like it even blew up bigger because now it had this like, holy shit, Jesus is back type of feeling. So that's really cool, and they reference that in the film a couple times. Like even on the front cover, it says here they thought he was dead, but he was just cooling off. Or at one point in the film, Mark Frazier, Frank Washington, I believe his last name is. I think it's Frank Washington. He's trying to find the samurai cop, or he's trying to find out who's making these medallions, and he ends up meeting, it's the samurai cop. It's Matt Hannon. I'm going to just refer to him as Matt Hannon, even though it's not his name anymore. I apologize. It's easier to roll off the tongue. So he goes up to him and he's like, I thought you were dead. So like they reference that in the movie, which I thought was just a nice, funny, nod. The movie has a lot of interesting stuff. I thought they should have touched upon the bad guys a little more. Like some of the main characters from the first film are in this film, and there's one specifically that I don't want to name in case you watched the first film and enjoyed it, and you do watch the sequel. There's one main bad guy in the first movie that's in the second movie, but they don't really like show that Matt Hannon knows him, that the samurai cop knows him, and I thought they should have shown that. There is a lot of... There's also a ghostly like apparition that sort of leads samurai cop a little bit near the end, and he was a bad guy in the first film, and in this film he comes back sort of as like a specter, I think, and like a guide, but he's good. So I didn't understand that connection really, but there's a lot of connections and callbacks and like little things that if you saw the first film and you're a big fan, you will pick up on, and I think you'll appreciate. And I think that's why, as I said, there's a lot of fan service in this movie. The soundtrack was frigging awesome. There's one rap song during one of the fights I don't really like. It kind of threw me. But there's a song called Manimal by this band called Too Bad. It's kind of like a techno-y pop song, and it got stuck in my head numerous times. And then there's this like slow power ballad type thing called, I think it's called Moments We Had, and it's by Joe Wakeford. And that song got stuck in my head numerous times. And just a good soundtrack. I thought the soundtrack was really cool. It's coming out in June, so check that out. I actually sent an email to Cinema Epic, just seeing like where can I get these tracks from. I want to put them on my flash drive and listen to them in my car. And Greg Hatanaka responded, and he's been sharing a little bit of my videos, my Samurai Cop video and stuff. So thank you very much, Greg. I really appreciate it. And another reason I really wanted to see this film is one of my favorite directors, producers, actors, Tommy Wiseau. If you've seen The Room, which is a crazy like love story and has like a lot of like backstabbing in it, The Room, not to get too off track here, it sort of reminds me of like a film that was made in another language and then translated into English to where the dialogue seems stilted in ways. Sort of like the first Samurai Cop, but way more. It seems The Room is more apparent. Anyhow, Tommy Wiseau is in this, and he plays one of the main bad guys. And he's got a very thick accent. He says he's from Louisiana, and I don't denounce that. I'm sure he is at one point. Initially, and hopefully he doesn't get angry at me with this or watches this even. Initially, I believe he's from Poland. But long story short, he was from somewhere, Poland, Czechoslovakia, I think it's Poland. Came over, lived with his family, whatever, in Louisiana, and he has like a weird accent because he has both kind of accents, but more the Polish. So he's a little difficult to understand sometimes. In the movie, he is rambling and going on, and if you really listen, you can get him, but for the most part, it's just this like, it almost sounds like nonsensical, almost like what you would get from like this sounds weird, like a Buddhist kind of like mantra chant type thing, like it's like he's going on and on. It's mesmerizing because he's just yelling at you. There's smoke in the background, and Tommy Wiseau is just screaming at this guy or screaming at the camera, and he's energetic, and I appreciate that. And I like Tommy Wiseau, and I would love to meet him someday. I think his movies are cool. I like his acting. I like how he doesn't take himself super seriously. So kudos to them for putting him in the film. We were sitting here watching it last 2 weeks ago, I think, and my friend Timmy's looking at the credits, and he's like, "Oh my God!" And he just starts fucking freaking out because Tommy Wiseau's in it. So you grabbed a whole nother genre of people, I think, from casting him, which was really cool. I have a couple notes here about things I just wanted to touch upon. I would wholeheartedly recommend that you watch the movie and then watch it with the commentary. There's a track with Greg Hatanaka who just explains all the little nuances. There's lots of old movies referenced in this film, dialogue. There's an Indiana Jones reference. There's one point where this guy comes out and it almost seems like out of complete left field and shoots someone and then screams, "Remember Mola Ram," because that's his name in the film, Mola Ram, and he's a mole. So he shoots the guy, leaves, and my friend is just like, "What was that?" And she starts laughing because it was just like completely, it just seemed really out of nowhere. Um, and then he comes back a minute later and shoots someone else and then leaves again. You never see him again. And I tweeted him the other day on Twitter. So that the actor. So that was kind of funny. But there's like references to Indiana Jones and other old movies. Um, they tried to fit in a lot, and I think some of it you'll pick up on and you'll appreciate, and some of it you like get kind of confused by in a way, especially like I said with just all the characters, so many characters, and then there's the Kitano gang, or yeah, I think the Kitano gang, and then they reference Katana, so like it's sometimes the words were a little similar, so it was a little difficult to follow, but I really liked the movie. If you like the first film, and you know a lot about it, I think you should definitely see the second film. It feels different. It's definitely more self-aware, as I said. It's cheesier. It's goofier. There's crazy CG blood that looks insane. You'll definitely get a good kick out of the movie. And I think what they were able to do for the amount of money they kickstarted, they did great. That Bai Ling is in it. There's like a lot of actors and actresses that are sort of like B actors and actresses, or more even. And I just think they got a pretty cool cast, especially the callbacks from the first film. That it's like, holy shit, that's the dude from the first movie. But I would definitely recommend to watch it with the commentary after you see the movie initially, because Greg really puts a lot of things in perspective, explains a lot of things. And one of the things he did that I thought was really cool, two of the things actually, was, without spoiling too much, in the movie, Matt Hannon, Samurai Cop, is watching TV and he's seeing what looks like hallucinations. You know, if he's drugged or he's just really fucked up, and they're blurry, like on a television, like an old TV. And he explains this in the commentary. By the end of it, there's no more blurriness, and his real life and his imagination or whatever have now like melded, have now become one. And I thought that was a really cool thing that I didn't pick up on, that I was glad to have figured out through his commentary, because it's like, oh, that's cool. There's actual like things in here that are thought provoking. It's not just some cheesy action film or buddy cop movie. Like these are thought provoking things that Greg like so almost subliminally put in the film that you may not pick up on. My favorite one, and Greg can correct me if I'm wrong on this, is one of my favorite films is Brazil. I love it. It's probably my favorite film. It's hard to say that because I have like a top 10 and they're all kind of, it depends on the week. But there's a point where Samurai Cop is having like a hallucination and he's fighting himself. And he's fighting a samurai. The samurai takes off his mask and it's him. So it's his, he's fighting himself, his inner demons, his things that are against him, or who he thinks he is, who he, the epitome of who he is or whatever. And in Brazil, there's a very major scene in that movie where Sam Lowry, the main character, Jonathan Pryce, fights a samurai, and then when he rips his helmet off, it's him, and he's looking himself in the face. You're facing your own, fear, your own enemy, your own worst enemy. And I thought that was cool. I like that he threw that in there, and maybe he can tell me if that was a Brazil reference or not. But there is a little gratuitous nudity, which I guess you would expect having, porn stars in the movie. You do see a lot of boobs and stuff, kind of sometimes out of nowhere, it seems. But overall, know what you're getting into. It's a B movie. You're not going in with this A class like Lethal Weapon. You're not going in for this A class like comedy. You're going in for sort of a B movie with a cult following that they really tried to like put a lot into. They put their hearts into, and has a lot of fan service. I would wholeheartedly say to recommend. I would wholeheartedly recommend it. Say check it out. I really enjoyed it. I've seen it like 3 or 4 times now. Seen the first movie 2 or 3 times now. But really cool stuff. Check out Samurai Cop 2. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much or spoil too much, but thanks guys for watching. It's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. Be good.